Sony provides updates on the PlayStation Store for PS3 and PS Vita. Sony has provided a significant update regarding the future of the PlayStation Store on the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Vita, giving longtime fans of both platforms a clearer picture of what lies ahead. While the PS3 and PS Vita have long since been replaced by newer PlayStation hardware, thousands of players continue to use the systems to purchase classic games, downloadable content, and digital-only titles. The latest announcement marks another step in Sony's gradual transition away from supporting its legacy platforms as it focuses its resources on the PlayStation 5 and the future of its digital ecosystem. According to Sony, the PlayStation Store for both the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Vita will remain available for a limited time before eventually being retired. The company explained that maintaining aging storefront infrastructure has become increasingly difficult as the systems approach 2 decades old in the case of the PS3 and more than 15 years for the PS Vita. Sony stated that modern security standards, server maintenance, and operating costs have all contributed to the decision to discontinue the digital storefronts. When the PlayStation Store eventually closes on both platforms, players will no longer be able to purchase digital games, DLC, themes, avatars, or other content directly through the PS3 or PS Vita stores. Redeeming digital codes for new purchases will also come to an end. However, Sony emphasized that users who have previously purchased games digitally will continue to have access to their download history, allowing them to re-download eligible content for the foreseeable future. This means players who already own digital games will not immediately lose access to their existing libraries, although Sony has not committed to supporting downloads indefinitely. The announcement has renewed concerns throughout the gaming community about digital game preservation. Unlike physical games, which can be often played decades after release as long as the hardware remains functional, digital-only titles depend entirely on online storefronts and download servers. Once a digital storefront closes, games that never received a physical release may become increasingly difficult or in some cases impossible to obtain legally. This has been a long-standing concern among historians, preservation organizations, and collectors who argue that important pieces of gaming history risk disappearing as companies discontinue support for older platforms. The PlayStation 3 library is particularly significant because it includes hundreds of digital exclusive titles that were never released on disc. Throughout the console's lifespan, Sony encouraged developers to publish smaller downloadable games through PlayStation Network. Popular titles such as Tokyo Jungle, The Last Guy, Fat Princess, Echo Chrome, Trash Panic, Calling All Cars, and numerous independent games became defining parts of the PlayStation 3's digital catalog. In addition, many classic PlayStation and PlayStation 2 games were re-released digitally through the PlayStation Store, giving players convenient access to older titles without needing the original disc. The PlayStation Vita also built a reputation as a home for independent developers and niche Japanese role-playing games. Although the handheld struggled commercially compared to Nintendo's portable systems, it developed a loyal fan base that appreciated its impressive hardware. OLED display on the original model, and extensive digital library. Numerous visual novels, indie games, RPGs, and downloadable exclusives launched exclusively through the Vita's online storefront. For many fans, preserving access to these games has become increasingly important as physical Vita cartridges grow more difficult and expensive to find. Sony's latest announcement also serves as a reminder of how dramatically the gaming industry has changed over the last decade. When the PlayStation 3 launched in 2006, digital game downloads were still relatively uncommon. Physical disc remained the standard method of purchasing games, while downloadable content was largely limited to expansion packs, map packs, and smaller independent releases. Since then, broadband internet has become significantly faster, storage capacities have increased dramatically, and digital storefronts have evolved into the primary way millions of players purchase games. Today, the majority of PlayStation software sales occur digitally through the PlayStation Store. Sony's recent financial reports have consistently shown that digital purchases account for the overwhelming majority of full game sales across PlayStation platforms. Subscription services such as PlayStation Plus have further accelerated that transition by encouraging players to build large digital libraries rather than purchasing individual physical games. For collectors, the closure of the PS3 and PS Vita stores represents another reminder that digital ownership differs significantly from physical ownership. While players who purchase games digitally would obtain licenses to download eligible content, access ultimately depends on Sony continuing to operate its download servers. Physical discs and cartridges, by comparison, can often continue functioning without requiring access to an online storefront. This distinction has fueled ongoing debates about consumer rights, digital ownership, and long-term game preservation throughout the industry. The announcement also recalls Sony's controversial decision in 2021 to close the PlayStation Store for the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Vita. Following widespread backlash from players, preservation groups, and game developers, Sony reversed course before the shutdown took effect, allowing both storefronts to remain operational. At the time, former Sony Interactive president and CEO Jim Ryan acknowledged the community's concerns and said the company had made the wrong decision by removing access so quickly. The latest update suggests that while the stores will eventually close, Sony believes the time has finally come to move forward with retiring the aging services. Game developers have also expressed a concern over the future of older digital storefronts. Many independent studios that release games on the PlayStation 3 or PS Vita are no longer in business, making unlikely that their games will ever be re-released on modern platforms. Without active storefronts, some of these titles could effectively disappear from legal distribution altogether. Preservation advocates argue that maintaining access to older digital libraries is an important part of protecting video game history for future generations. For players who still own a PlayStation 3 or PlayStation Vita, Sony's announcement serves as a reminder to review their digital libraries and make any remaining purchases before the stores eventually close. Games that have been sitting on wish lists for years may soon no longer be available for purchase, and downloadable content for favorite titles could become permanently unavailable once the storefronts are retired. Despite the closure of these legacy storefronts, Sony has indicated that its focus remains firmly on supporting the PlayStation 5 and expanding the PlayStation Store for current generation hardware. The company continues to invest heavily in digital distribution, cloud gaming, PlayStation Plus, and other online services that have become central to the modern PlayStation ecosystem. As gaming continues shifting toward an increasingly digital future, the retirement of the PS3 and PS Vita stores represents another milestone in the industry's ongoing evolution. While many players understand the technical and financial reasons behind Sony's decision, the announcement has also sparked a renewed appreciation for the history of both platforms. The PlayStation 3 introduced players to high definition gaming, Blu ray technology, and the early days of digital distribution, while the PlayStation Vita earned a passionate following despite its commercial struggles. Together, they represent an important chapter in PlayStation history, and the eventual closure of their digital storefronts signals the end of an era that helped shape the modern gaming landscape. Yeah, so what does so yeah, the PlayStation Store on PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Vita is shutting down in July of 2027. So you still got one more year if you want to look over PlayStation Network, um, the PlayStation Store on PS3 one more time. Get older titles for cheap. Because I bought Crash Bandicoot 1, 2, and Medieval. Um, I bought Crash Bandicoot 1, 2, and Medieval for the original PlayStation on PlayStation 3. I'm probably going to go on there and get Spyro before this happens. Um, the Spyro the Dragon games. If Unless prices have gone up, which I don't think they have, because one thing I have to say about the PlayStation 3 store, not only did game prices not seem to move up, like when going after the PlayStation Classics, the PlayStation 1 games, the prices didn't seem to advance either. So, like, I don't think it wasn't there weren't many games added to the PlayStation Classics lineup. They had like 92, and that number like never seemed to grow. So, yeah, you got one year to if you were holding back on something digital for the PlayStation 3, get it from the PlayStation Store now. If you can't, then you have one year to get it. Um, I don't think I don't think I have to worry about the PlayStation 3 being able to play those classic games, because I can play those games without even logging in. I haven't logged into PlayStation 3 on PlayStation Network in years. So, but I can still enjoy Crash Bandicoot 1, 2, and Medieval. I just had to do the memory card format thing so I could save my progress on those older games. So yeah, if you got some money, $20, $30, and you still got your PlayStation 3, boot it up, sign in, go to the PlayStation Store, and get games before they disappear. It's also with the like their PlayStation Classic section. It's a cheap. It's You're not gonna find, if games are still as cheap as they were, like when I got Crash Bandicoot 1, 2, and Medieval. You're not gonna find games much cheaper, especially online, especially when you have to pay for shipping and things like that. So my advice to you, if you still have a PlayStation 3 or even still a PS Vita, capitalize on those deals over this last